So one of the most important things that I find is a really common error that we have at ZenGrowth with some of our clients, and when we're doing a sort of audit like this, is we're checking, does the keywords that the content uses or the keywords that we are given from a list, does it actually match search intent? So search intent is super, super important because basically you have to think, what is the logic behind when someone searches for something, what are they trying to find? And if you try to create content that has a totally different type of information as opposed to the keyword that you've used, like you've answered a different question or you have different information, even if it's super well optimized for that keyword and you've created awesome content and it's set up really wonderfully, if it doesn't actually answer the question that they were looking for, then you've got a problem. So because probably you have an issue with bounce rates, and if you have a lot of bounce rates, so people leaving your site really quickly and they didn't find what they needed, that can actually affect your keyword rankings. So it can de-rank you or reduce your rankings because you have a mismatch with search intent. So that's, of course, Google's primary goal is always to match search intent. So you really have to honestly think like Google when you're trying to understand what search intent is. And I kind of take that personally from two perspectives. When I'm thinking about something in the context of the person, I think about the buyer persona. So a buyer persona is a fictional representation of your ideal customer. And I kind of put myself in their shoes and think, what would they want to search for when I'm doing keyword research? And then I would think, what information do they want to find by typing in that search? And that's how you really start to understand search intent. And you also have to think about, on the other side from Google, like there are sometimes some brand names or things that if you Google them, they could be lots of different things, really depending on what you mean. So you always just want to make sure that you're really checking that that it actually matches the content that you create. And so generally speaking, there are usually 4 different types of search intent. At ZenGrowth, we focus on tech companies and tech industry as our main client base. So I've given some more tech examples here, but informational would be something like, what is something type of software, or why should I use this software, or something around integration requirements, something like this. Commercial or investigation. So you want to find a type of software service provider, or you want to compare 2 different softwares. Transactional could be that you want a demo, and navigational could be like you're looking for this type of software about page or this brand about page, something like this. So it's kind of helpful to put that into context. If you think of it like this, it's not always going to fit into this nice neat box like this example here. So just really try to think of it manually and logically like you would if you're the person who's searching, because that's in the end who you want to become your customers. So the more that you can think like them, the better. So just a couple examples that are important, especially in the B2B world, is you always have to pay attention to consumer searches or B2B searches. So here I have an example with a consumer search for the keyword online banking versus a B2B search, online banking software. And you can really see the difference, especially in the descriptions that come up. This sounds like it could be for a private person, basically. And here you can see they're talking about financial institutions, white label online banking software. So if you're wondering whether a keyword is for a B2B audience or for a B2C audience, you can really just actually Google it and see what comes up with the competition, and just try to gauge whether it's one or the other. Sometimes it's a mix. So it's not always nice and easy to understand the difference. And sometimes, especially in B2B, you do have to make a very calculated decision about, okay, well, the search results for this keyword are mixed. B2B and B2C, should we really create content for it? And that's a situation where it just really depends on where you are in your SEO strategy and how important you think that content would be for your audience. But at the end of the day, just make sure that if it's not an investigation or a transaction or a navigational search intent, try to reduce selling people too much on that, because if they're still in the information stage of search intent and you go too deep into trying to sell, you can still lose people anyways, because the goal at the end of the day is you want them to convert, whether that's to become a lead or book a demo or whatever your marketing goal is. You want to make sure that this matches and that they're happy with the experience they had in that content, because they will remember you later on and come back if they were happy with it.